Hi everybody and welcome to WKTV's weather blog. Here tonight we're going to be doing another video blog on your holiday weekend forecast and, more interestingly I suppose, the tropics. And it's a good thing, I guess, that the tropics are more interesting than our holiday weekend weather. Fire up the grill and enjoy. Check this out. Temperatures in the mid to upper 70s both tomorrow and Sunday. As we go through the day on Saturday, we do expect a mostly cloudy start. Not going to be the most appealing day when you first wake up, but as the day goes on, sunshine really starts to break out, and it should be very nice. Sunshine here wall-to-wall on Sunday and Monday as well, with temperatures in the middle 80s on Monday. Certainly warming up just a bit to make it feel a little bit more like summer as we unofficially close the summer season. Now, let's take you into the tropics and talk about what's happening here. As we take a look at some of our headlines, we are still tracking two storms, and both of them are going to be interesting. Gustav and Hannah are still spinning away in the tropics. We are watching Gustav heading for Cuba tonight and also strengthening now. A hurricane is a Category 1. We're also watching that the Florida Keys may be impacted by this with tropical storm force winds, which is a little bit of a change from yesterday. We'll talk about that as well. And we're also watching Hannah growing in the Atlantic, not a major storm or anything like that, but still coming along nicely. As we started off with last night's, the overview, here is Hannah right here, northeast of Puerto Rico. There's San Juan. And then here is Gustav, exited Jamaica, now in the Cayman Islands and continuing to progress across the Caribbean toward the Gulf of Mexico here as we go through the next couple of days. Let's take you in closer in on Gustav, and you can see over the last several hours here as we run the satellite loop, this storm has gotten its act together. It's now a Category 1 hurricane. A couple of inhibiting factors we're noticing. We're seeing some dry air still trying to work its way in from the southeast. That may be holding it back just a little bit. But notice how the storm's kind of expanding a bit here. We're starting to see more what we call outflow from this storm, meaning it's growing in size. This is a small storm by comparison to, say, Katrina or Rita, which were in the Gulf in 2005. Those were large storms, big wind fields. This is now growing a bit, though, so it is something that we're going to be watching. Let's talk about the forecast track, then, as we take you through forward in time. First off, actually, let's talk about warnings as we take you forward in time. Here is the tropical storm watches that were posted late this afternoon for the Florida Keys, the extreme southern Florida Keys here. Again, that means the potential that there could be some tropical storm force winds in that area. And here's why. As we take a look at the track of Gustav now, it takes it to the northwest across the western edge of Cuba here, then into the Gulf of Mexico. But again, that wind field growing, so it may clip the Florida Keys with tropical storm force winds. Then as we continue forward into early next week, we take Gustav into, right now, the official track into Louisiana. But again, don't focus necessarily on the midpoint line here. You have to worry about the cone, which is basically what we call the cone of error, because that's what it is. The track could go on the right side of this, on the left side of this. There's still plenty of wiggle room now. We're starting to narrow things down a bit, though. We're starting to think, okay, probably west of maybe Pensacola, Florida, but still Texas in play, all of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama still in play for the potential landfall from this storm. And again, the center of the storm doesn't necessarily mean that the impacts aren't going to be felt elsewhere. For instance, if the storm goes 100 miles west of New Orleans, they're not necessarily safe. They could get storm surge up the Mississippi River. Let's talk about the strength of this storm now. You saw on that track map that it is forecasted to become a Category 3. I believe one of the official forecasts even pushes it to Category 4. This somewhat convoluted map is what we call oceanic heat content. And basically what that is how strong the waters are, how warm the waters are, conducive for development. It takes into factors water temperature, water depth, atmospheric conditions, things like that. Well, Gustav located right here this evening over this area of orange, and not coincidentally, that's how the storm has gotten itself together. It's over much more favorable waters right here and continuing to push off to the northwest here toward Cuba. Now, once it does hit Cuba, that may slow it down just a bit, but this has got several hours, at least another 12 to 24 hours over this water in which it will strengthen and be under favorable conditions in the atmosphere to develop. Now, we can shift the view of this oceanic heat content up into the Gulf of Mexico. If you continue to follow the track of Gustav, or at least the forecasted track off to the northwest here, follow that line now, and again, there's plenty of room for wiggling here. Notice it stays over this very warm, very rich water for a while, but then things start to kind of cool off, I guess you could say a bit. It doesn't mean that the water isn't conducive for the storm to maintain itself, but this explosive development that I think we're going to see with Gustav tonight and into Saturday, and probably into Saturday night, where this thing could ramp up easily to a Category 2 or a 3 or even a Category 4 hurricane, Well, it starts to lose that ability once it gets north of about the central Gulf. It'll max out, I think, somewhere in here, depending on the exact strength, the exact track of the storm, and then probably maintain its intensity, a couple of fluctuations here and there, into the central Gulf. Then from that point on, it will probably slowly weaken as it moves inland, which is good news, sort of. Doesn't mean that this is going to be a weak storm coming on shore, but I don't think we're going to be looking at a Category 4, Category 5 hurricane making landfall on the Gulf Coast, which is certainly good news. But still, nonetheless, this is going to be a force to be reckoned with, again, depending on how large it grows and all of that factored into it. A lot can happen here with this storm. So it's going to be very interesting to watch over the next couple of days. Again, we are thinking this is going to become a major hurricane somewhere, maybe just before it gets to Cuba or immediately after. And you'll be hearing about it already, problems down in New Orleans, people evacuating and things like that. It's something that we're going to be keeping an eye on all weekend long. Now, let's also take you out into the Atlantic and show you Hannah here. Hannah's still just a moderate tropical storm right now. A lot of what we call convection, the bright cloud tops here indicating a lot of thunderstorms with this particular tropical system. Let's track Hannah then forward in time as we go, and you'll be able to see it maintains its tropical storm strength, but should strengthen into a hurricane, we think, at least a weak hurricane as it moves off to the west here, and then eventually, notice, starts to bend to the southwest. This one's going to be fun to forecast and track. Certainly would not want to be forecasting on the Florida coast right now, but this storm probably going to peak not as explosively as Gustav. It's not under the same conditions as Gustav or the same area of the Atlantic, much different than the Caribbean. So this storm in particular probably going to strengthen into a weak hurricane and then hold itself or maybe weaken a bit as it bends back to the south into the Bahamas and maybe some of the northern islands here. And from there, well, who knows what's going to happen. This could hook back out to sea. This could continue to pick back up off to the west, hit Florida, and then move into the Gulf. Several of our computer models are suggesting it goes through the Keys, then up the west coast of Florida and into the Panhandle. Either way, they don't need that much more rain in these areas, so this will probably be something that they're not going to want to contend with over the next week or so. But we'll keep you posted on the tropics. Again, obviously not a threat here in central New York, but certainly from a meteorological standpoint with very quiet weather here in our area. This is very interesting to follow, and we'll keep you posted on it through the weekend and into next week as well. And you can bet we're going to have plenty of information on what happens ultimately with Gustav as it makes landfall in the Caribbean. Once again, enjoy your Labor Day weekend. I'll be back here on Tuesday. Jill will be around this weekend along with Bill to provide some updates periodically in the blog as well. Enjoy your weekend.